So a few days ago, I had a solo flight at Cessnock, and I had a engine failure on the at the end of the first circuit, just as I was doing touch and go. And while things are still fresh in my mind, I just wanted to record this video just to capture a few thoughts before they disappear, because I haven't written anything down, and hence decided to do this as a video. All right, so here is the beginning. I've already had, I think, 4 or 5 dual circuits in this C150, and everything was pretty good. The circuits were good. I was familiar with the controls of the plane, especially the carb heat, which is like a new element for me, and I worked all good. So I've just finished the pre-flight checks and did my radio call and entering the runway. So I'm just going to skip all that and go to the final. So it's just a single circuit. So let's go to final. So around here, just entering final. So carb heat is on. You can see the carb heat is on. Speed is good. A bit overshot, but no problem. Okay, carb heat off. Yeah, flaps looks good at this point. So I think that the plane is properly configured now as far as its fuel system and power is concerned. It looks okay. Stable on the center line. Okay, landed. Okay, flaps up. Then waited for a couple of seconds for the flaps to retract before powering up. Now look at the throttle and how fast I push it in. I think it's basically the same rate of power increase or RPM increase as I've always done. I don't think I push it in any further or any faster. You can see the RPM here is just gradually increasing. Looks good. And carb heat is still off. And now power cut off. So probably it's hard to see the altitude here, but yeah, I don't know. Look at the roof of that building there. It's probably, I don't know, 3 meters off the ground, 3 or 4 meters. And look at that's at this point I realized what was happening, and then I saw how close to the end of the runway I was. You can see that the 2 big white markers here. So I knew I didn't have much runway. So what happens next? Okay, so pulled power back to idle. And momentarily I thought of, should I deploy flaps as a landing? Realizing though how close I was to the edge, I thought that's not a good idea. So better to just go straight down onto back to the runway that is remaining. And at that point, I was thinking that probably it's even better to not worry about doing a proper main wheel landing. Like a flat landing would be preferable, because then I'd be able to use the brakes to slow down, hopefully before the end of the threshold, before the end of the runway. So that's what I did. Kind of moved. One thing I can't really explain yet, I'll just go back a little, is why I moved to the left of the runway. So let's have a look again. So see, I'm on the right side of the runway, and then for some reason I'm just moving slightly to the left side. Maybe I could have done a better job with the rudder there to keep it straight, but that's what happened. So here I'm going to touch down and bounce. Bounce. And then slamming the brakes. That's pretty much it. So I didn't really know what caused this. I thought maybe it was a fuel issue, because you can see that the engine is still running, and at least a moment ago it was still running. And I just turned it off with the mix. Yeah, so I just said engine failure because that could have something to do with the fuel. Eventually, the mechanic says it was something to do with a leak in the intake manifold gasket. So that caused a power loss in combination with throttle speed. I'm not sure if that's correct or not, but something was going on there with the gasket, and the seal probably was not good enough, and the details are still blurry, or I don't quite understand what the details are here, how the gasket leak of the air intake manifold could cause this. Perhaps more air in the combustion chamber, and the mix and air, so the mix of fuel plus air just wasn't appropriate for combustion, and in a high power setting it would cut off, the engine will cut off. So maybe someday I'll find a full explanation of the mechanics of what happened. And I know that it's probably hard to have a 100% certain explanation of what happened, but if we focus on the manifold leak possibility, I'd like to better understand how that can cause power loss. And just one thing also to mention here, before I forget, is that you can see here I'm taking off at full power. Then literally it wasn't just a partial power loss, it was full power loss. The plane just started dropping down immediately. So it went from 100% power to basically the propeller just freewheeling. It wasn't producing any power, and that's why it came down so quickly. So that's why I want to understand if a gasket leak can cause something like that. And just notice the engine just continues to spin. So I know that the engine hasn't locked. It's just continuing to rotate until I switch it off. Okay. That's pretty much it. Now, I didn't want to move the plane out of the way here, although obviously I didn't even try to add some power because I wasn't sure if I had damaged the front wheel, especially because I did land flat and there was a bounce as well. And I also wasn't sure whether this ground here could support a plane moving on it, so I just waited for assistance to come and get me. Also, as I was coming through the threshold here, you can see the lights at the end of the runway. I tried to steer a little bit to the right just to avoid damaging those lights. That's another thought that I remember having. Okay, that's about it. There's lucky in the end. This could have happened a little later. I would have ended up in the fields. Luckily, there's lots of fields up there, but yeah, they would not have been as clean as this turnout of events.